doing. Without further ado, we are going to go into a health overhaul right now for everyone working from home. And before we go into this health overhaul, I'm going to share my screen and show you some credibility here. Okay, this is all the pictures of Dr. Nick DiNubile, who's going to be coming in first with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Here's actually a video I found of Allen Iverson hugging him when he came back, I believe, from an injury. And he's also the author of the Framework book series, which is a very popular book series around musculoskeletal health. And you can buy his book Framework on Amazon. Looks like there's only one left here, so you will certainly sell out today. First of all, thank you for replacing my ACL a month and a half ago. Things are going very, very good, and you obviously know what you're doing. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for being the perfect patient. Motivated, you're fit, you're positive. My work is pretty easy. I think with ACLs, it's so hard. Like a lot of these injuries, especially ACLs for kids and athletes, it's life altering and it's life changing and it's a long process. Really the patient mindset. And we'll get into that a little bit because even though I'm an orthopedic surgeon, you think you're the furthest thing away on the spectrum from the psychologist and the psychiatrist. In med school, there were the kids that wanted to be orthopedic surgeons, we're the mechanics, and then there are the ones who, treatment of the id by the odd, the kids that wanted to go into psych, completely different. But after a few years in practice and working with a lot of patients, you learn that they're so connected. It's unbelievable. And your mindset plays such a role on how you heal or how it interferes with your healing. Kudos to you. I mean, you're so positive and, you did great so quick. So
you would kill me for what I did on my mountain bike this morning. Anyway, this is the first time we've ever had a doctor on our show, believe it or not. And the first thing, kind of like the elephant in the room, is this huge habit shift that's happened for people since the world went virtual. And what I'm curious is, you have so much credibility when it comes to being a health expert. And my question to you first is, what do you see the most successful people who are staying energized through this lockdown where gyms may or may not be open, or, we've been challenged to maybe work out from home? What are the common threads you're seeing with people who are thriving through this pandemic with their health?
I think it gets back to what I just said. It all starts with the mindset, the positive mindset, which is really difficult and challenging to keep when you're sitting at home and you're worried. This is serious stuff going on, and you're worried for your health, especially as you get a little older. Like my age, I'm pretty fit. I'm a high level tennis player, actually a member of the United States Professional Tennis Association. So I had to put that on the shelf for a while, but I'm pretty fit, but I'm a high risk group because of my age. Even I worry about it a little bit, but I think it has to do with mindset. It has to do with being a little more creative, being willing to let go of routines that you had for so long. And myself is a perfect example. I've been a gym rat my whole life. I go to the gym regularly. I'm a high level tennis player. I play frequently. All of a sudden, 3-4 months, you're not allowed to do any of that. And I'm not allowed to do surgery. Imagine that. A surgeon, my whole life, my whole adult life, you go 2-3 months without doing surgery and you start thinking, okay, do I remember how to do this, or do I stress in a lot of ways? So the willingness to adjust. So what did I do, and what do the people around me who I think thrive do? They learn to adjust. I started walking outdoors, and it didn't work for me as a workout, but it worked for me in other ways. I would stop. I'm taking pictures in my neighborhood. I'm posting. It was more relaxing. It was a stress buster for me. Started listening to some interesting music at night, lying in bed rather than watching TV. Just get rid of that screen time that you're on all day now, because this is it. This is how we interact with people. And it's great to be with a nice group of people without everybody on masks, having difficulty breathing. Zoom really has worked in a lot of ways. I don't know what we would do. What did they do back in 1918 or when this happened? They did not have connectivity. Also, they weren't getting the news telling you how everybody's dying either. So they were a little bit in the dark. So I made some adjustments. I started working out at home, and the workouts weren't great because I don't have all the equipment that I have at the gym. I couldn't play tennis. So that got to me mentally a little bit. And I learned something actually that's important, and I should know better because my book's framework is about how do you extend the warranty on your frame and your body. We're all living longer. If you're lucky and you live right, really. Longevity is not the issue anymore, but durability is a big issue. We're all breaking down. Anybody who's over 40 knows you probably have 1 or 2 musculoskeletal ailments, whether it's back pain, shoulders, knees, you name it. So I should have known this, but being on the shelf for 3 months, I go out and I start hitting tennis balls again. And I didn't overdo it. I didn't do anything different. My technique is good, as I said. And all of it's first time in my life, I developed a shoulder problem, which I've still been struggling with a little bit. And what I should have learned is that you can't be on the shelf, especially the aging frame, the aging body. You got to keep. So my body, from being so active my whole life, it probably adapted. It probably was doing pretty well, but on the brink of failure, but never failing. And soon as you put yourself on the shelf. So it's a big challenge. I think it is a big challenge, but as I said, finding things to do indoors, taking up new things. I mean, tennis is one of those activities that people started doing because it is one of the few socially distanced sports. And I've seen the courts in my area with people on them that I haven't seen in years. Tennis is kind of had dropped off, right? And there's good reason to be in tennis. You know, there was a recent two big studies out of Europe. I mean, 80,000 people they looked at. There was original research done at the Cooper Clinic. You guys may all know that, guys and girls may know that, in Texas. Really, they've done some of the best research on fitness protects you from all cause mortality, not just heart disease, but you're talking about cancers, every possible thing you can imagine. Fitness protects. And we'll get into COVID a little bit on that too, because the data on COVID is even more fascinating, and immunity. But the original research from the Cooper Clinic is that people who are sedentary versus people who are active, and it's night and day whether you're going to live longer from all cause mortality. That's clear cut, that being sedentary is as dangerous for you as smoking a pack of cigarettes or 2 packs of cigarettes a day. So more recent research said, okay, let's look at active people. Let's find all the people who are really active. Are they different? You know, who lives longer? So you would think, okay, obviously it's going to be the marathoners and the extreme athletes who are just so fit. Well, surprise there. And the number one activity for longevity, and it far beat everything, was tennis. How is that? Well, as a tennis player and a tennis pro, I could tell you it's a couple things. It's fitness, it's aerobic, it's anaerobic. You're moving fast, you're active. It's hand-eye coordination. It's agility. So fall prevention as you get older. You know, that fall that you take when you're a little older, you break your hip. So it prevents osteoporosis. It prevents falls. Most importantly, and it's the big difference I see between tennis players and runners, it's social. And social, having friendships and keeping friendships has a lot to do with mindset, with lack of depression, with longevity as well. So tennis hits all those marks. And I'm not saying you have to do it with tennis, but these are the things you should be thinking about. And to get back to your question, a lot of this stuff gets taken away when you're isolated. And loneliness has been a huge thing. Depression at all age groups, suicide ideology is way, way up if you look at all the studies. If you look at Google searches for anxiety and stress and suicide, we're at an all-time, since the beginning of Google, all-time high through March, April, and May. So the world is at home worried and thinking about this stuff. So trying to keep social. I think the message on that tennis thing is, yeah, be active, find something that helps hand-eye coordination, but also social. And, you know, these distance runners never look happy. I mean, I see them all the time. Cyclists are a happier bunch. And Peloton's been a big thing. You say another thing that a lot of my friends who have not everybody has the financial wherewithal to have that. But so many of my friends and patients have gone Peloton on this, and Peloton's doing phenomenal. From their stock went off the charts with COVID. But these people have become hooked on that. There is interaction. You know, I know it's a long answer to a short question, but
yeah, I mean, I know I personally just had a huge takeaway on the social side, right? Because I tend to be like a stoic exerciser where it's like, kill yourself on the mountain bike and like push. And then like at the end, you're like, it would have been better maybe if I found a way to do that with other people. That's a huge takeaway. So bring us through your famous 7-step program and what you think the most important or most ignored steps within those 7 steps are that are kind of the framework of your famous book series framework.
Just to add to one more thing that you said, that you want to push yourself hard. And a lot of people think they have to, but the data from the Cooper Clinic and other people have verified is you don't have to be an Olympic athlete to get all the benefits of fitness. The real benefits come from going from sedentary to being active. You get tremendous benefits there. Then as you increase the intensity of your workouts, the other thing that happens is the injury rates start to go up. So there's a point on that curve where if you push your body too hard, breakdown is more likely. So you want to find that sweet spot in there. You know, some people need to be pushing themselves like Olympic athletes and pro athletes and they're willing to, a bow stretched to its fullest is most likely to snap, is the old adage. But you want to not go to that point, especially after the age of 40. And that's what framework's all about. What are the weak links you have in your body? And we all have them after, and even before that. Somebody like you who's beat yourself up pretty good with the kind of sports you like and motocross and all that, you can have that parts of your body can be aged way ahead of time prematurely. So, but all of us after the age of 40, it's like gray hairs and wrinkles. And with each decade, it gets worse. And my good friend Arnold, he is a good friend. We've been friends for over 30 years. I just FaceTimed him on his birthday, and he's in isolation, but he's doing great. But he's always said all along, you can't punish your body 30 the way you did at 20, and you can't punish your body at 40 the way you did at 30. I've heard him say this as he's gotten older, and he stays very fit and he looks great, but he can't do the things that he did to himself when he was younger, and you have to be smart about it. So the 7 steps, my first step is about self-assessment. And in all my books, I take you through a quiz. And I got the idea from, I brought my car in once for usual checkup, and they came out with this sheet that has the red, yellow, and green on it, and all the parts of the car that, okay, green means good to go. That's fine, no problem. Yellow is, hey, you might need some work on this at some point. And red is, you got to take care of this right now. So I had the idea in my book to put you through this really holistic entire body, not just what's your flexibility or strength like, but the self-test gets into all of those things that might have your body fail or your health fail. And it has to do with mindset, nutrition. Do you snore? One of the questions is, do you snore? Somebody might say to me, well, what does that have to do with your frame, with your musculoskeletal system? Well, read the book and you'll find out. So the self-test finds those weak links. And a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So once you find your body's weak links, whether they're mindset, nutrition, sleep habits, lifestyle, a lot of it's lifestyle, a lot of this is preventive. And we'll get into that later if you want. We spend 98% of our healthcare dollar after the fact, 2% on prevention in our country, 98% after things are broken. So everything is treated like a Wall Street bailout in terms of healthcare. We have really expensive technology to fix stuff after it breaks, but you're never going to catch up with healthcare spending. So first step, find those weak links. And then once you find them, a couple of the other steps have to do with exercise, the benefits of exercise, working your core, I call it the muscle in the middle, the importance of core strength. I have powerful, pliable limbs, which is both strength training and flexibility, and finding those imbalances that we all have in our body. If you're a runner, you're going to have tight hamstrings, you're going to have tight calves, you're going to have a tight lower back, and the front of your shoulder is going to be tight. Every activity, especially if you're doing a one-trick pony type thing, like tennis players, typically one side of their body's stronger. Their back muscles are stronger on one. So you're going to have these imbalances. Either some of it's genetics, some of it's bad luck, but a lot of it is the training that you do and what you do to yourself. So guys tend to like more strength training. They tend to work what I call the mirror muscles. They're in the gym. They're working their biceps. They're working their pecs with bench press. They're working their quads with leg extension. And they neglect a lot of the rear muscles. So they create these imbalances that set you up for injuries. Women tend to like more stretching. You have these Gumbies that are like completely hypermobile. Stretching should be the last thing they're doing. And meanwhile, they're signing up for all these yoga classes and things like that. Whereas they probably need more strength. Really, they need more strength rather than that exaggerated flexibility. But find your imbalances, deal with those imbalances. And then, nutrition is a huge aspect. Mind body is a huge aspect. Mind check, just seeing what your mindset is like. Is there anxiety? Is there depression? Are you a positive kind of person or not? In any way you can to start changing that, whether it's starting some meditation, some mindfulness activities, to really have your mind work for you. Lastly, I'm a little out of order with them, but recovery is another important thing. I think that's such a big area in terms of people push their bodies hard, especially if you're an athlete, and recovery tends to be the thing that's neglected. And I think it's the big thing you're seeing now with high level athletes is they're focusing so much more on recovery and planning it almost like a workout. And recovery has to do with nutrition. It has to do with things like massage, maybe light workouts. I'm not saying you have to take off a day, but you have to watch for overtraining and things like that where it can backfire. Exercise is like a medicine, and I've written extensively about that. And like any medicine, it's about dose. And any medicine could be a poison, too high of a dose. And we see that with exercise where people get into trouble where they push their bodies too hard to the break point with injuries or metabolic overload, overtraining type things. So recovery is a big thing.
Quick summary here. Some really great takeaways. So first, the self-test. The self-test is certainly something I've neglected because it's easier to not question your habits if you already are working out. Certainly harder if you're not working out because then you got to stare yourself in the mirror and start working out. the self-test is a big takeaway, because what if we were to just transition our exercises to go after our weakest link? That was a big takeaway too. Question I have, so if we could create more social exercises, we could do lower impact, we could fix our weaker links, right? And take care of that exercise bubble. The diet side, one of the most popular search terms on Google, you mentioned right now for diet, is intermittent fasting. So I'm curious about your thoughts on, for people who want to lose weight or for people who want to get more lean, which I would believe most people would want that. What are your thoughts on calorie restriction? Should we do this during fasted windows? I personally do intermittent fast. Or should we be doing this through like tiny 400 calorie meals throughout the day?
That's a tough call. I'm not a nutritionist. I read pros and cons to it. It's not easy to do. It's challenging, especially people with busy schedules. I myself have thought about that and I've tried it a little bit, but if I don't get something in the morning, my day, I don't get a moment to pause during the day where I could, if I want to take 16 hours or 12 hours where I don't eat. So you do it through the evening and into the morning, it might be 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock before I get a moment to even do something. So depends on your schedule. It's very hard, but certainly restricted diets. I mean, being lean is good. There's no question, especially when you talk about longevity. And being overweight, anything you can do. I think a lot of it comes down to the basics, though. You got to do what's right for you. MyFitnessPal's an app. I think that's what it's called. That's really good. And I used it for a while and it worked. And then I got off the habit and I need to lose 10 pounds. I really do. I'll move better on the court. But MyFitnessPal allows you to track your calories and your activities. And it's not always that simple. There's some people who really has to do when you eat and the types of food you eat. And if you're eating higher processed food and insulin responses, that's what you're getting to with the fasting. You're trying to cut off these spikes in insulin that we create for ourselves during the day, which actually leads to fat storage. But in general, if you're eating better and you're eating less and you're moving more, you're going to lose weight. You are, unless you have some metabolic issues. So I don't know that you need to get extreme. I think it's a marathon weight control. And when you get into any extreme situation, I don't know that most people are able to maintain that forever. So, you're disciplined. You're a disciplined guy. And for those people I know who have done it, it has worked successfully. I've seen it with so many people, the restricted diets, but it's a schedule that you're on, right? And you're limiting calories,
Yeah.
you're going hungry, you're cutting sugar out, which is probably a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Processed foods, you're cutting sugar out. And I mean, look at you, you're lean, you're fit, hard to argue with that. So
I'd say if anyone's looking to fast, certainly check out one of those documentaries of people who've been trapped on a raft for like 75 days. And then your little like 12-hour fast is not anything in comparison to that. So Dr. Nick, thank you so much for the time. I know you have a busy list.
Let me add one more quick thing that I promised I would say, and it has to do with COVID, is that, and the focus on prevention, I wish I would hear one health official, because we're now 6-8 months into this. From the beginning, if they started sharing some of the information about what you could do preventive for your health, people could be healthier now and less. If you're more fit, you are less likely to get COVID. That's for sure. And if you get it, you are less likely to be hospitalized and less likely to wind up in an ICU or die. Opposite with obesity. Obesity is major issue here. When you're obese for a lot of reasons, metabolically, your insulin response, your immunity is affected by obesity. Exercise boosts immunity. Obesity blunts immunity. So people in 6 or 8 months, if they had been told this, maybe some people would have made changes in their life to put themselves in a better position for this second wave, for the third wave. So it's never too late to change your fate. And I think I call it a COVID awakening. It should be a wake-up call for people that lifestyle matters. And this is not a random, I mean, it is random who gets it, but it's not random who dies. It's the elderly and it's the unfit. And it's people with medical conditions, many of which are preventable. So I just, with everybody here, I think you just need to take that message home about, you can change your health, you can change your life, and it's going to come back in spades, especially when something like this unexpectedly hits us.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Dr. Nick. And I know, again, how busy you are. He was like, how the heck am I going to fit this in with all my patients? So I appreciate all of the takeaways. There's some takeaways here is add something social to your workout routine, and don't also worry about killing yourself, going to 180 beats per minute or going too crazy, because there can be a negative effect. A lot of focus I was listening to here is on mindset, right? If you don't have a positive mindset, it's a lot harder to stay consistent, I think, with diet and exercise. So that was a huge takeaway. But really, guys, it comes down to eat less, and move more. So I really appreciate that, Dr. Nick.